Hi, I'm Olivia Lowry.
And I'm Cody Callanan.
And this is Wazzu on Film.
Today we'll be reviewing Dead Caesar and Hail Pool.
I think you mean Deadpool and Hail Caesar.
Right, that's what I said. Hail Dead and Caesar Pool.
Okay then.
Stick around. All right, so Deadpool. I like this movie. So it is the most recent of the Marvel superhero, or I should say anti-hero movies to hit the cinemas. It stars the sexy Ryan Reynolds, although he's not always that way in the movie. And it starts with the origin story. It goes on how Deadpool became Deadpool, what he was before and what he is now, or after the horrendous things that happened to him in the movie. And then, after the origin story, it goes on to kick some butt and kill bad guys in very gruesome and gory ways. That is essentially what Deadpool is. So, what did you think?
Well, this movie, it was definitely completely 100% over the top. I mean, I feel like that's what everyone expected going into it. If you've seen the trailer, if you know anything about it, like there was a line right here and they crossed it in every aspect. There's definitely, a lot of gratuitous violence, which I'm like not necessarily the biggest fan of. I'm kind of when like there are blood and guts and people's heads flying everywhere, I'm more the person to like look away and be like, can this be over with? But I mean, I would definitely call this more of a comedy than an action movie. There's definitely some intense action scenes, but I'd call it more of a comedy. I mean, there were some really funny one-liners. I feel like Ryan Reynolds was definitely super good in this character. He was, just gave these killer one-liners, and even though he was wearing a mask, you could just really tell, he could hear like the smirk in his voice. So I definitely think he did a really good job with that. I mean, I knew going into it, it wasn't necessarily going to be my kind of movie, but there was an audience that this movie was for, and I feel like it gave the audience what they were expecting, what they wanted from the movie.
Yes. All right. But I really liked this movie. I personally felt like the over-the-top aspect was great. They broke expectations, and that's what you're supposed to do with any sort of media that you have, any sort of story. While they might not have done it in a plot element, the plot twists weren't really there, they definitely broke it in every single other element, even with the fourth wall, which is always breaking. They break the fourth wall like every single action scene, I want to say. They break the fourth wall continuously, even outside of the action scenes, just always. They endlessly break the fourth wall, and I personally love fourth wall breaks because I think they're interesting and funny, and they did them well, at least in my opinion. And then the humor outside of breaking the fourth wall was also very good. While it might have been a little bit raunchy, it was definitely something I can laugh at and could and did laugh at all of the time. I was laughing all throughout this movie, and I would call it a comedy action instead of an action comedy because it was more focused on the humor than the action itself.
Yeah, I definitely think those fourth wall breaks were they were really true to the character that Ryan Reynolds was playing, Deadpool. I felt like, obviously I think Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor went really good with this character, and the fourth wall breaks were just like perfect. Like it was the middle of an action scene, and he'd turn and look at the audience, and just give one of his one-liners. And I mean, that was definitely probably one of my favorite parts of the film, was just Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor for sure. And obviously, there were some jokes that I was just like, but then I would also laugh at things, and I'd be like, am I really laughing at this? And I'm like, yes, I am laughing at this. Like, there were definitely funny moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised at how far they went with some of their jokes.
Oh yeah.
It was like, wow, you actually went there. All right, that's okay. That's bold.
They're going for shock factor all the way in this movie. So if you think you're going to see a kid movie, like a superhero movie that you can bring your kids to, this is not the one. But I feel like no matter. Well, I'm not going to say everyone, but most people who will go into that movie will end up laughing at something, even if they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm laughing at this. You'll laugh at some point in the movie.
I mean...
even if it's just because you're so uncomfortable and shocked.
even in the opening credits, like, the movie's not actually started yet, but the opening credits, they even play a joke on the actors' names, which aren't actually the actors' names. They instead say things like starring a CGI character and starring the stereotypical British villain and starring a moody teen. So they embraced the cliches, the Hollywood cliches, to the end, and then turned it into something funny.
So what would you rate this movie overall, would you say?
You know, Olivia, I would rate this movie maybe 3.5 or maybe out of 4.
Wow, that is generous.
I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very well done.
I mean, this movie was okay. It wasn't my type of movie, and only for that reason I'm going to give it 2 out of 4. Just because it's just my personal opinion. This wasn't my type of movie. I definitely see where people could have liked it and found it funny and, just liked that type of humor and that type of movie in general, but just wasn't my thing.
Was it because they ruined his face?
Maybe if they had just let him look pretty for the whole movie, I would have given it 2.5, 3, but
I mean, yeah. The only thing I took that little chunk out for was because it's not for everybody. It's definitely not family friendly if you were wanting that. Like the other Marvel movies, no, it's not that. But according, towards their audience that they were shooting for, and it was very, very purposeful to shoot for that audience. They did an outstanding job with the movie. Zoolander 2 is so hot right now.
Let's check in with Aijane on the street and see how well our fellow Cougs know the blue steel look.
Okay, Cougs, today I want to see your best blue steel look. That was good, not bad. Oh, that was a good one. That was great. Oh, that was a good one. That was great. That was awful, honestly. That was great. See you back in the studio.